seeing how it's actually the Sony PlayStation event today at 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, I just wanted to put my thoughts in at the last possible moment. There's a lot of rumors around talking about what Neo is going to offer, what name it's going to be. There's like PlayStation Forever being touted, um, upgradable components, and all this fun stuff. Um, I just kind of want to make sense of it all because I think a lot of people are just chasing rumors instead of just thinking about it from a gamer perspective as well as a corporation standpoint. Um, I don't think it's going to be upgradable other than a hard drive. I don't think Sony is going to invest in a platform that you would swap out components because it's not going to work. The reason why I say that is there is a cap to how many times you can kind of upgrade something before having to upgrade your whole system. We know this from PC gaming, where, yeah, you could keep on swapping out graphics cards, but eventually your motherboard, RAM, and CPU combo is going to be the limiting factor. And that's going to be the issue with the PlayStation if they decided to go to an upgradable component route. If you look at the PlayStation 4 as it stands, there really isn't a way you can make it upgradable unless you were to put the CPU, GPU, and memory all in one module. Even then, the limiting factor is the bus that they would use to transfer data. So it would not only need to transfer power to it, it would also have to have a built-in heatsink. So it would probably be essentially the form factor of a graphics card because it has a heatsink already in it, but something where you just slide it right in, kind of like a hot swappable power supply in a server. Um, that is the only way I can see them doing it. However, I just don't see the point because the box is cheap enough where if, let's say, they charge $400, and you were to buy a new $400 system every 3 or 4 years, it's not the end of the world. I mean, we do upgrade our cell phones at a much higher frequency than we do our gaming platform. But I think what's funny is the gaming industry is acting like this is a new concept of upgrading your hardware every so often. And it's something where I laugh at it because if it wasn't for the x86 architecture, this would not be feasible. Um, because if you look at previous consoles, every console had their own custom hardware. It was custom platforms, custom development kits, custom everything. Yeah, the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One have slight customizations to them, but for the most part, they're off the shelf PC parts. An APU is nothing new. AMD makes them for laptops, but they don't make them for desktops because people don't buy them on desktops. Um, or maybe they do. I don't remember. But the point is, I would never buy an APU because they're really designed for low power, cheap. What's that word? Uh, use. Like they're not really designed for high end anything. Which is why I thought it was funny when Sony's like, "Yeah, we're gonna be putting an AMD APU in here." Uh, no, that's not good because your CPU really is low and lackluster at best. Um, I just think about like the most expensive components in any system realistically is the CPU, GPU, and memory. Um, and so I don't see why they would even bother with a componentized system where you would just be able to swap out those three components because you can't really swap out two of the three or one of the three because two of them are merged into one package. That's why in a single chip die, if you go and you dissect your PS4, you will see that it's just one chip. And that's because they do what's called a heterogeneous chip design, where it's got both the CPU and GPU on one die. It reduces cost, it reduces energy usage, and it reduces heat, which is why the system is much smaller than the original PlayStation 3, which had, I think there was like 5 different chips. It's been a while since I've taken one apart. But there's other factors too. You have to think about, okay, the power supply can only dish out certain voltages and certain wattage. So if you're going to make a system where it can you could swap out those three components in a single go, they would actually hinder their future upgrades based on whatever is stationary. And so it's like that with PC gaming. That's why you're supposed to think ahead of, okay, plan for what you're going to eventually do with your computer, not what you can currently do with it. So when I bought a power supply, I bought a 750 watt power supply. At the time, I was running a Core i3 and I was running a 460 SE, which wasn't really stressing anything. Now I run a quad core i7 overclocked, and I run a 980 Ti not overclocked. I just don't feel like doing it. And I also have now 5 hard drives in my computer, so there's a lot more demand on that power supply. But if I went with a 400 watt power supply, I would have been fucked. I would have had to go out and buy another power supply that would meet the demands of my system today. Yeah, we make things more power efficient, but there is also that point where if you want additional performance, you have to up your power requirements. And so I don't see how Sony would knowingly build a system that's going to limit them in the future, because it's cheaper for them to just build another one later. If you're looking at the cost, let's say they charge you, okay, it would be $400. I'm just throwing that number out. I could be completely wrong. But let's say it's $400 for this componentized system. Okay, how much is the module going to cost in the future? Let's say every year they decide to release a new module that would upgrade your system and make it run better. Okay, so how much is that going to cost? Because if it's like, $200 or something, honestly, I just don't see the value in doing it that way. Because for me, yeah, my system, I could have kept running with the 690, but it was starting to hit that limitation of memory. That was really what was killing it. And that's why I upgraded to a 980 Ti. But yeah, I could have stuck with that other card. Hell, I could have still stuck with like my 680 that I bought, all those years ago. With the x86 platform, especially with PC gaming, is you can customize your experience. You can lower the graphics settings to improve your frame rates. I do the opposite. I've been playing Final Fantasy 13 on the PC, and I'm using a graphics mod that allows me to render it at 4K and downsample it to 1080. And it looks sexy as hell, and it runs perfectly fine on my machine. These are things you can't do on a console currently. But here's the thing, there is going to be a cutoff point. You can't forever, develop new hardware and then say, oh yeah, all of the software is going to support it. There is a cutoff point. There's going to be a point where the current PlayStation 4 hardware is just not going to cut it for games. So you will see a point, maybe not this next mid-generation refresh that they're doing, but definitely the one after that, because what developer would develop a game that's going to have 3 different experiences? I understand we do it on PC gaming, but I think that kind of mentality is what's been holding back the gaming industry for the longest time. There was a substantial jump in graphical performance and the complexity of games once the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 had their death, which was long overdue. I noticed that a lot of PC games now are embracing newer technologies because developers have an incentive to actually spend the time and effort and money into developing these new ways of doing graphics. Because now the Achilles heel, the limiting factor, has been bumped up a little bit from the previous generation. So would I expect there to be a decent 4K gaming? I don't think so. Even today's gaming hardware on PC struggles at 4K. I'm able to play some games. I can render them at 4K and it runs perfectly fine, but other games just don't play well with 4K right now. So I would expect it to be similar to the PlayStation 3, and even the PlayStation 4 currently can't even handle 1080 on a regular basis. with frame rates as low in the teens just to render it at 900p. So with the next generation consoles, if they're estimating around 6 teraflops or so for the GPU, my current graphics card meets or exceeds that. And I know that I can't run every game at 4K without a hitch. So I think that there's this false expectation that, oh, yay, we're going to spend all this time and energy focusing on a higher resolution instead of better experience. Because 60 frames per second should be the bare minimum that you should shoot for. In any game development or even any hardware platform, you really should shoot for 60 frames a second because it is such a smoother experience. And that's something that irritated me with console gaming for the longest time was, playing games and just having that frame rate drop. I feel like I'm dragging my game across a pile of sludge, and I hate it. So it was actually a pleasant experience playing Final Fantasy 13 on PC because it runs a shitload better than it does on the consoles. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. Take into consideration of what I've said. The PlayStation 4 Slim, cool. I watched a video on how it's taken apart. It seems a little bit more complex to take apart than the current system, which I have taken apart a PS4 already. Not mine, but someone else's. But yeah, it's interesting to see. I just, honestly, where are the games is all I keep thinking about. Because there's a lot of franchises that Sony is sitting on and they're not doing shit with. And it just blows my mind that, with gaming now, it's all about, hey, we're just going to keep throwing new hardware at the audience, when developers really are in this weird stage where they just don't know what the fuck they're doing anymore. And I don't know how to really explain it, but where the fuck is Gran Turismo on PlayStation 4? Why has it taken Polyphony Digital so long to release a game? You're removing the complexity of the hardware. It's supposed to be faster and easier for you to develop a game engine that will run on the PlayStation 4. Fuck, it's on PC. It's very easy to do. But yeah, I miss the golden age of gaming, and I would say the golden age of gaming was the 7th generation. With actually not 7th generation. Jeez, I'm losing it. PlayStation 2 generation. If that's 7th, I'm losing it. I didn't get much sleep. I didn't drink enough energy drinks. So, yeah, bite me. So, that's my thoughts. I will make a video after the event, and I'll discuss what I think of the announcements. I'm also waiting for the Apple announcement. Yeah, Apple announcements haven't been exciting in the past few years, except for the Apple Watch, which I wear every fucking day. But it's just, I don't know if it's just me, but really, nothing excites me the way it used to. Even in technology, it's yeah, here's a new 1080. Okay, it's 20% faster than the previous generation. Big fucking deal. Show me something exciting. And we're just not seeing it right now. So, I don't know. Maybe we're just slowing down.